Sonny Donnelly, IFL TV in association with Matt Clint's Gym Marbella. I'm here in Hammersmith today for the George Groves Open workout ahead of his fight on Saturday night. With me, I've got Head of Sky Boxing, Adam Smith.
Sonny, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. You?
I'm very good. It's a local gig for me, this, because my parents and in-law live around the corner and I live up in Acton, so only about 10 minutes away, so I know Hammersmith well.
It's a light day's work for you then. Obviously, big night on Saturday.
It is.
With George Groves headlining.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the guy who's fighting personally. Have you seen much of?
Yeah, I have. He's fought Lucian Bute. He got bit stopped by Bute. He's tough at his level, but George should be able to deal with him. I think it's the perfect fight to come back for George Groves. I'm very much in the camp that still believes George can win a world title. He was very unlucky, obviously, in the first Carl Froch fight. He got caught in the second Froch fight, and it was razor close against Baddy Jack for the third time. So I think it could be fourth time lucky for George. The division's wide open. Obviously James DeGale is doing extremely well, and maybe that's another fight down the line for the two of them, but I think George has to prove himself again. I think it starts on Saturday, and I think this is an opponent that can give him a good little test of his ring rust and see how he's doing and adapting under Shane McGuigan, his new trainer. But I think it should be lift-off again for George Groves, and I think it should be a very exciting year for him.
Obviously, also on the card away from the headline is Tommy Martin versus John Wayne.
Love that fight.
50-50 fight.
Love it.
No one can call it. How can you see it going?
I love it, and I'm not going to call it either. I think it's a great fight. It's a real trade encounter. Two good, honest pros. Martin maybe slightly the one on the way up, the fresher, but Hibbert tough, isn't he? And he was in those great fights with Dave Ryan. I think it's a really good appetizer, a lovely sort of hors d'oeuvre before the main event. But I think head to toe, it's a great card. I love Ryder and Kamitsky as well. Leon McKenzie on there too. I think it's a really good boxing night for us to kick off our coverage in England. Obviously, we had the Deontay Wilder fight the other night from America, which was a great heavyweight experience, and obviously the heavyweights are the key division this year with Anthony Joshua and David Haye, and of course Tyson Fury's rematch with Klitschko. But this is our first outside broadcast, our first sort of big night here in Britain, January the 30th, Saturday night at the Copper Box, and it should be really exciting.
Speaking of the heavyweights, what did you make of Tyson Fury's little outburst after the Deontay Wilder's fight? It's
Tyson Fury, isn't it? You know, you can't ignore him. He's the heavyweight champion of the world. It was the performance of last year when he upset the apple cart. You know, no one had done that to Vladimir Klitschko for 11 and a half years. Now he's got to go and do it again. But with that comes Tyson Fury and all his drama. Batman at the press conference. Then he goes and tries to steal the show, hog the limelight from Deontay Wilder on the night in New York. Love him or hate him, you know he's there, and I think he's a terrific ingredient for the heavyweight division. And if you look at him against the likes of Anthony Joshua, who the whole country seems to be getting behind, the charming, real sort of great guy outside of the ring, and he's knocking them all out inside it. And then you got David Haye with ooze of charisma and power as well. I think it's a fascinating sort of triangle there. You chuck Deontay Wilder and the other boys into the mix, and you got some really thrilling fights.
Obviously, a lot of people weren't impressed with Deontay Wilder's performance against Spitzka. Yeah. They said that he was losing. That some people had him losing the fight even, and obviously, unfortunately, Arthur got caught with a massive shot. Yeah. If he didn't get caught with that shot, obviously, ifs and buts. But do you think he could have gone on to win that fight?
Ifs and buts in boxing, I don't actually. I know Tony Bellew had Spilker up, and I'm sure many people online did as well. Watching the fight from afar, watching it up close, I thought Spilker had a terrific start. I thought he was ahead after 6-7 rounds, but I think it was just starting to turn. I had Wilder just up at the stoppage, and I think that Spilker was getting tired, and we were right by his corner. Carl Froch and I were sitting in the front row, and we were right by his corner. You could sort of feel almost the fight sort of draining from him. Obviously the knockout punch was one of the best knockouts you'll see, a real finisher, and it was a shame after Spilker's good work that he had to walk into one of those. But that is heavyweight boxing. That's the excitement of Deontay Wilder. Even in a pretty average performance, he comes out with a shot like that to finish it.
And obviously away from the heavyweight division, Gennady Golovkin was in London this week, and people are starting to speculate, could the Billy Joe Saunders fight happen?
Wouldn't it be great for Billy Joe Saunders, that? Wouldn't it be a fantastic, after beating Andy Lee and becoming our 12th, I think, British world champion? I think it's, I've always been a big admirer of Billy Joe Saunders, especially, like beating the likes of John Ryder, and he hasn't had it easy, Billy Joe. But I think it would be wonderful to see him going with Gennady Golovkin. Of course, Golovkin would be a big favourite, Everybody is an underdog against Golovkin at the moment, seemingly. But yeah, that would be a terrific night for Billy Joe if it can be made.
And I'll ask you, while we're early in 2016, what is your wish list of fights? What fights do you want to see this year?
Oh, well, sometimes we do those Christmas wish lists, and some of them just don't come true. I mean, what's my wish list standing here? I think the big one for me this year, because I know Fury Klitschko is going to happen. I think the big one for me this year that I would be really happy to get over the line would be Amir Khan and Kell Brook. I think I was delighted when Scott Quigg and Carl Frampton both came into Sky Sports News to sign for their fight, and that's an amazing fight. But it's a fight really, obviously, that boxing fans are going to talk about. We want to try and get the football fans talking about that. Well, the football fans will be talking about Brook Khan, there's no doubt about that. It can happen in Wembley, it can happen in June. I personally believe that both Cal and Amir won the fight. So it's down to money, it's down to the people that make it happen, and they've got to get together and try for the good of the British public. The fight should happen, and for the fighters themselves, because they're both at crossroads in their career. Kel's got an important night to get through his mandatory defence on March the 26th on Sky Sports, which I'm really looking forward to going back to Sheffield. But come on, Amir and Kel have just drifted a little bit. They need each other now, and they need that to happen. So Brook Khan for me, Fury Klitschko. Let's see Joshua in a couple of really good fights. Let's see the HAYE story carry on. Looking forward to on BoxNation Flanagan and Derry Matthews. Maybe Flanagan and Crawler. Maybe the cross political divide can happen, and that will be another good one. So there's many good fights. I want to see De Gale come back, George Groves maybe go on to win a world title. Stephen Smith's got his world title chance coming. Callum Smith, it looks fantastic, doesn't he? Kaliafai is another one.
It's a big year.
There's so many, and it's really exciting.
And obviously, I've got to ask you what you make of the whole WBA tournament. It seems like they're trying to strip Tyson Fury's belts away one by one and leave him with nothing. I mean, what is happening?
To be honest, does that really bother Tyson Fury? He knows he's the heavyweight champion of the world. We all know it. He beat the man, and no one can take that away from him. What he did in Dusseldorf, no one can take that away. And he believes he's going to go and do it again the second time around. So, the political, side of the sport has always been that, hasn't it? The governing bodies do things in their own way, but ultimately, what we want to see is, as fans, are great fights, and we know Tyson Fury is the number one heavyweight at the moment, and that's all we need to know, really.
Obviously, people do say that Tyson Fury sort of talked his way into that fight with Klitschko. His big mouth helped him. Do you think that Amir Khan's trying to do the same sort of thing with his fights? Because obviously he's been mouthing off on Twitter to Kell Brook, and now obviously at the Danny Garcia Guerrero fight, he had a little bit of a spat with Mayweather. Yeah,
chat with Mayweather. Listen, he hasn't got the Mayweather fight, and he hasn't got the Pacquiao fight, so it can't really have worked. I mean, maybe Mayweather didn't want to fight him for reasons of speed, or maybe he didn't want to fight him because he didn't want to fight him. Whether Floyd comes back or not, I was convinced he was going to come back. I'm a little less convinced, having talked to people at Showtime a couple of weeks ago, but maybe he will. If he does, would he pick Amir Khan? I don't know. I think if he would have picked Amir Khan, he would have picked him by now. Khan didn't get the Pacquiao fight. He looked phenomenal against Devon Alexander, and maybe that's a reason that just made them think about other opponents. I just think, yes, could Khan fight Garcia? Of course he could. It would be a rematch we'd all want to see. But the fight we all want to see in Britain, no doubt, it's Wembley. It's June the 4th. It's Brook and Khan, and let's hope it can be made.
And obviously, fights that are happening in the UK, but not in Wembley, in Manchester. You said earlier about Scott Quigg and Carl Frampton.
Yeah.
What do you make of Kiko Martinez getting a world title fight against Leo Santa Cruz after coming off the back of his losses?
Listen, Kiko Martinez is a tough and a good fighter, and he's been around a long time, hasn't he? You only have to ask Carl and Scott about Kiko Martinez and how much they respect him. Yes, coming off the back of the knockout defeat to Scott Quigg, which was a bad one for Martinez. It looks like a softish fight for Leo Santa Cruz at this stage, but my attention is going to be on Manchester, because the fight that I cannot wait for is Carl Frampton against Scott Quigg. I think it is a genuine 50-50 fight, just like Brook and Khan, just like Fox Groves 2 2 was, and I think these are the fights that we want to see. You know, it was sold out in minutes. I think it's going to be an amazing atmosphere. You know, it's going to feel like half of Ireland are there, and don't worry, Scott Quigg will have plenty of Northwest support as well. And it's a fight that, you know, people say 1 minute, oh, Carl Frampton is pedigree and he'll definitely come through it, and then they say, oh, hang on a minute, Carl got knocked down a couple of times, the momentum's changed to Scott Quigg, he did a better job on Kiko Martinez. I tell you what, these two are cracking guys, they're really good fighters, and it'll be down to who gets it right on the night, and I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait either, and that's just starting off a massive year. We can speculate all we want about fights, but until they're in the ring, we'll have to see what happens.
Listen, I think that the British boxing had a great year last year. You know, to end it with 12 world champions is fantastic. You know, we haven't even talked about people like Lee Selby and Jamie McDonnell. I mean, what a year they both had, especially Jamie going abroad and doing what he did to Tamiki Kameda. You know, I mean, that's fantastic. You know, and
more than once as well.
You know, exactly, the double, and I think that there's a chance for others like the Ifais and the Callums and all that to come through this year. You know, there's plenty of talent. You know, and success breeds success. Look what George Groves has done. He's gone and joined the Shane McGuigan party. Shane McGuigan's got Carl Frampton, he's got David Haye, and now he's got George Groves. You know, those little pockets of success around the country. You know, it's happening in Sheffield, it's happening in Manchester, it's happening in Liverpool. You know, maybe now it's happening a little bit in London as well, which is great to see. And people want to know Anthony Joshua and David Haye. They want to be there. They want to be at the events. Look at David Haye's was packed out. Anthony Joshua's, the O2, they're thriving with boxing. And the arenas want boxing back, and I think that's a major thing. It's not just Manchester, it's Sheffield, it's Liverpool, it's Belfast, wherever you go around, you know, the UK and Ireland, it's absolutely buzzing with people that want boxing.
And obviously, like you said, that David Haye can fill out arenas, Anthony Joshua can fill out arenas. I'm going to ask the question, could that absolute super fight happen?
I think it would be an absolute super fight, and possibly the biggest fight we've seen in many years in this country. There's a few provisos, as there always are in boxing. Anthony Joshua's got to keep winning and keep impressing. David Haye's got to keep doing what he did the other night. And I would say 3 or 4 fights each down the line. I think summer next year, 2017 at Wembley, I think it will be absolutely monstrous if that happened. And I think that the whole of British sport would stop to watch what happened between Anthony Joshua and David Haye, partly because obviously they bring immense power, but also because of their characters, their charisma, their appeal. I know, I'm fortunate enough to know them both personally, and they're both great guys, and I have a lot of respect for David Haye and what he's been through.
That does happen. I will sell everything I own just to watch that. But obviously I know you're a busy man, so I'll let you shoot off. But Adam Smith, thank you very much for IFL TV, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.